What's up, guys? It's Daz here.
Hello, I'm only here for Pikmin.
Hey everyone, I'm Vantage.
What's up, guys? It's Named Coyote here, and welcome back to another video. Over the course of 20 years, the Pikmin franchise has had its highs and lows. Every Pikmin game is different, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not so much, sometimes they'll introduce stuff that just sucks. That leaves us with the question, what is the best and worst part of every Pikmin game? As you heard, I've assembled a dream team of Pikmin YouTubers. Each of us will take one game and determine the answer to that question. I'm not gonna waste your time. We all know what came first. Let's talk about Pikmin 1. Daz, take it away.
Yes, let's talk about Pikmin 1. Hey there, my name's Daz, and Pikmin 1, of course, was the game that started it all. It established all the roots of the franchise that would blossom into the adored franchise that it is today. But that doesn't necessarily make it the perfect game. In fact, for me, the worst part of Pikmin 1 has to be the jank. You know what I'm talking about, right? It may have the least mechanics and the shortest runtime, but sometimes this game is one of the hardest to actually control and meangle. Whether it directly comes from the low-quality AI pathfindings of the individual Pikmin, the inconsistent responses to some of the buttons when trying to throw or whistle your Pikmin, or how's about the jank around bridges, giant enemies, and inexplicably falling through the floor and dying? This game is meant to be the very start of the franchise, and logic would suggest that you'd recommend this game as everyone's first Pikmin game. But I do the opposite. With it being so dodgy and awkward to an unseasoned hand, I would argue that this is the Pikmin game newcomers should play last, just because it comes with an intense learning curve, and seems the most demotivating out of the bunch. Losing Pikmin to finicky controls or just outright glitches is demoralizing, and a true detriment to the game. And that is why, for me, I'd have to label the worst part of Pikmin 1 to be just the sheer jank. But let's talk about the best part of Pikmin 1, and maybe this is a bit of a controversial pick. It's probably a very Gen 1 opinion, but for the Pikmin fandom, the best part of Pikmin 1 for me is the time limit. I mean, wow, the absolute audacity to include this in your game is unreal. To suggest that there is a genuine hard filter of a game over, to have a looming existential crisis stuck over your head to really feel the dire stakes of survival that Olimar is going through, it's tough love. It's intimidating. But it's really what makes Pikmin stand out as a unique gaming experience. And you can't panic about it for too long, you literally don't have time in the day to do so. And it's not exactly cruel. 30 days for 30 ship parts, honestly, it's easy. And while future games would play around with how the time limit works and each have their pros and cons, at least in the context of the very first go, to have the intensity lit up like this is bold and effective. You resonate much harder with the journey you and your Pikmin go on. Every highlight shines brighter than before, and it's undoubtedly what makes Pikmin so very Pikmin. It's the essence of Dandori planted right at the start, and that's why I would arguably say that the time limit is the best part of Pikmin 1.
Hello, I'm only here for Pikmin. Named Coyote invited me and a few other Pikmin YouTubers to talk about both our favorite and least favorite things about our favorite Pikmin games. My favorite Pikmin game is Pikmin 2, but it is by no means a perfect game. I think one of the biggest examples of this and my least favorite part of the game is the bloat, which is kind of broad, but it refers to stuff that is kind of distracting from the gameplay experience. There's stuff like the tutorial, which in this game is a bit long and doesn't really flow as nicely compared to Pikmin 1's tutorial. There's a lot more cutscenes, it's slower paced, it's just a bit of a slog to get through. The game in general can be a bit much with the cutscenes at times. Pikmin 1 just kinda lets you figure things out for yourself, whereas here you get interrupted a lot to have stuff explained to you. And for some reason, in future releases of Pikmin 2 for the Wii and Switch, these are unskippable, making the problems worse. The cutscenes also have this weird thing where you are unable to do inputs such as throwing the Pikmin for like a half a second after the cutscene finishes, which just feels clunky. This is most apparent with the treasure cutscenes. There's an unskippable cutscene for every treasure, which is kind of annoying, but that half second control delay can and will mess you up, especially if you get one during combat. This problem doesn't specifically refer to cutscenes as well. There's occasional downtime with waiting for objects, especially in the early game, and the Doomsday Apparatus, a treasure you usually have to actively grind for, which requires 100 of the rare purple Pikmin. My favourite part of Pikmin 2 is the general gameplay loop and flow, mainly the caves. The game didn't nail everything, but it's pretty good. The challenge can sometimes be a bit much, but I think the game generally is fair with it, and it feels nice to overcome it. I think it's a good twist to Pikmin. It's kind of the inverse of Pikmin 1, where resource management is a lighter punishment and bad time management is the main punishing factor. Here it's the opposite. You have to carefully manage your Pikmin, deal with enemies, and try to plan out each sub-level. Even on repeat playthroughs, the game still has some challenge, even if you know the game like the back of your hand. It makes it fun to replay, and I also think Pikmin 2 has some of the best controls in AI, which is impressive considering how quickly it came out after Pikmin 1. The Pikmin feel functional and also like independent beings here, which are two aspects other games struggle with. Overall, I just really like the gameplay loop of Pikmin 2 and spelunking throughout the caves. It's fun and provides the player with a good twist on Pikmin's RTS elements and also challenges the player in a different way from the previous entry Pikmin 1. While the gameplay is different from Pikmin 1, it doesn't feel too different either. It still feels like it's based in the general Pikmin formula, which is good. Anyways, those are both my favourite and least favourite things about Pikmin 2. Thank you to Named Coyote for inviting me onto his video. Be sure to subscribe to his channel, and I'm very grateful that he invited me on to talk about my most treasured franchise, Plankman, or whatever it's called.
Galactic date 20XX.
Hey everyone, my name is Vantage Emblem, and it's a huge honor to be here. Let's get into Pikmin 3. It's my personal favorite game in the series, and it definitely has some weak points too, so let's talk about it. Pikmin 3, at least with its original release on Wii U, was polished and pristine, and it set a new standard for the series with its upgrade into beautiful high-definition visuals. But that wasn't the only improvement from prior entries. Pikmin 3 also upped the total complexity of the series with the ability to control idle leaders using a brand new, very polished mechanic called Go Here. The best thing about Pikmin 3, mechanically at least, is almost universally agreed upon as the ability to use Go Here to enable high levels of Dandori multitasking, especially with 3 leaders. Once Charlie's acquired, the game reaches a management peak that is never seen again in the series. It's so popular that Pikmin mods have tried to recapture this in older Pikmin entries, and of course it returned in Pikmin 4. It's a really great feature all around. A lot of Pikmin fans will swear by Pikmin 3's mission mode as the best Pikmin content ever, and it really only has this title for a lot of people, I think, because of the increased complexity that happens when you're able to command all of your leaders at once to do as much stuff as possible under the most limited time frame. Go Here is amazing. What isn't amazing is Pikmin 3's short campaign length, a campaign length that leaves Blues extremely overshadowed by Wing Pikmin. We even know about prototype versions of the game that had areas that addressed this problem, and an entire cut main story area focused on Blue Pikmin. But as it stands right now, Blue Pikmin are clear underdogs in the game, and this comes down to the fact that they're required so late in the story, they don't really have much to do except grab a few fruit that you couldn't get the whole game, and quite frankly, a lot of the things that should be blue focused are completely sidelined because of the inclusion of Wing Pikmin. Now, Pikmin 4 solves this problem, I guess, by having the Wing Pikmin just be terrible. I don't know if there's a good solution for this, they both kind of have similar niches, but what Pikmin 3 did in its main campaign, that's not it. I mean, the game just literally feels too short, and a huge part of this is that they skimp out one of the main Pikmin types. I mean, it's Blue Pikmin, they're one of the 3 ones that stand in the center of the box, like that's what they do! Anyway, real quick, I want to get into Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Alright, best thing about Pikmin 3 Deluxe is its new side story campaigns with nostalgic returning characters like the President focused on the Hokotate ship. The story pushed forward the franchise's overall plot in a way that Pikmin 4 failed to do in so many respects, and they're a fun bridge of content that can help new players get used to the mission mode style of gameplay if they're just coming from the main story. It's a great little segue into mission mode. The worst thing about Pikmin 3 Deluxe is a huge lack of polish compared to the original Pikmin 3. Pikmin 3 Deluxe introduces so many new bugs, and though it's amazing that we have the game on handheld, it's such a shame that there's still a really good argument to play the original release based on polish alone. Oh yeah, and honorable mention, why is there no online for Bingo Battle or the co-op campaigns or mission mode? Come on, you're really missing out there, Nintendo. Anyway, thank you, Name Coyote, for having me as part of this video. My name is Vantage Emblem. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I don't know how much of this Name Coyote is going to use, but I'm really, really happy that he let me do this. So, yay! Thanks, guys.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. This fourth Pikmin game was so heavily anticipated. It was the most unique, most individually defining, game-changing installment in the series. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Hey Pikmin. Yeah, okay, let's get this out of the way. I think a lot of people will actually defend Hey Pikmin right off the bat, because it's definitely not a bad game. It's fun, I've played it. It was a little weird in some places, but it's a fun platforming game. I don't think the platforming or the 2D atmosphere is what's wrong with it. I think the one thing that makes Hey Pikmin so hated, the worst part of Hey Pikmin, is the fact that it's not a Pikmin game. And I think the biggest reason for that is the levels. The entire framework of the story is split into 100 tiny, linear, textbook levels. It's not a Pikmin game because in each level, you use the mandatory Pikmin they give you, there's no exploring or delegating or growing your numbers, and because there's only maximum 3 different Pikmin types per level, the puzzles, everything, is so generic. Red Pikmin aren't any different from Kirby's fire ability. Winged Pikmin might as well be one of Mario's flying power-ups. A 2D Pikmin game, a handheld Pikmin game, it could exist. But a level-based one? No. Where's the sense of scale and wonder? It's just not there in Hey Pikmin. Worst part of Hey Pikmin, the level system. But what Hey Pikmin does have is a dang jetpack, okay? I'm not going with that as the best part, but I had to say it. No, the best part, to me, honestly pretty easy. It's the bosses. I'll be the first one to admit some Pikmin bosses have been a little derivative in the past, a little unoriginal, if you will. Some of them just suck outright. Hey Pikmin has some of the most unique boss fights in the entire franchise. Admittedly ironic to call it original, but the Fiery Blowhog, I remember facing this boss, and it was an actual puzzle for me. I think bringing back old enemies for bosses was a great idea. Now yes, some work better than others. I've made fun of the Long Water Dumple in the past, but this was consistently the most agreed upon opinion I could find online, including taking my own into account. And you're telling me you'd swap this Galaga Space Invaders flippin' Queen Shearwig stuff for the Scornet Maestro? Nah. These are some good boss fights. Definitely the best part of Hey Pikmin. And last, but certainly not least, the most recent, dare I say one of, if not the best Pikmin game, Pikmin 4. It's been a long time coming for this one, and people expected a lot from this game. I think, mostly, it really delivered. It was just long enough, it was a great mix of new and old, though the Pikmin 2 recycling did go a little crazy sometimes. And there were some disappointments, unfortunately. I think the only 3 Pikmin types at once came as a shock to many. The Seafloor Resort is kind of a standout, just awful moment in the game, and maybe that's a personal bias. But I think the worst part of Pikmin 4 honestly wasn't that hard to decide. It's the night missions. Pikmin 4 is a long game, and that's off-putting to some people, but what's worse is the repetitive, pointless, again, just like Hey Pikmin, unoriginal night missions. This was such a great concept in theory. People were talking about night missions like since Pikmin 1. It's such a cool concept, but oh my gosh, the delivery was awful. They are the same in every single playthrough. They are somehow shorter than even a normal no cave day, and yet somehow feel so incredibly slow. Difficulty is at a bare minimum. Time is on your side, which is weird for a Pikmin game. In Glow Pikmin, oh no, they can't die, they can't be taken back home, they are of no use to you outside of this random tower defense minigame required to beat the main story. I don't like bashing on Pikmin 4, because I really like the game, but these night missions feel like a waste of potential. Even if you don't think that they're that bad, imagine how much better they could be. This game was 10 years in the making, and these were the night missions we got? They're limited in scope, difficulty, every factor, and once you've played one, you've played them all. It takes the gathering and exploring and growing your numbers right out of Pikmin. I think what hurts the most is that we've been needlessly fearing sunset, leaving Pikmin to die and wasting time and space, when nighttime just kinda had a few normal enemies sitting around. Like, breaks the illusion. Night missions are the worst part of Pikmin 4, I'm sorry. Of course, now I have the arduous task of deciding what the absolute best part of Pikmin 4 is, and this is much more difficult. I've heard arguments for the castaways, they add personality, they're a unique collectible. A lot of people like the new areas, they're expansive and detailed. Some people like the bench, many people even. A lot of people liked the bench. Or Dandori challenges, those were fun. But in this game, that is so inspired by Pikmin 2, there is one thing that really sets it apart, and it's been staring us in the face the whole time. It's Ochi. And I'm going to address some counters that I know you want to throw at me right now. It's true that Ochi completely changes the game, but he doesn't replace anything. You can still fight and collect and play all the same ways, but Ochi introduces new ways. He can jump, which is the reason the areas can be so expansive and diverse from the other Pikmin games. He provides quicker ways to do the menial tasks. And as a character, he's a lot of fun, with a lot of personality both in and outside of cutscenes. Ochi revolutionizes the franchise. That's the same reason Mario got Cappy and the capture ability in Mario Odyssey. It's not just about jumping anymore. There's nothing wrong with Mario 64 or Pikmin 1 or 2 or 3, but Pikmin 4 is set apart. I think for everything that was returning or nostalgic or old or repetitive, Ochi adds this incredible new flair to the game, and there's so many new elements and merchandise that Pikmin as a franchise can now benefit from. Nintendo knew what they were doing. The best part of Pikmin 4 is Ochi. Guys, let me know if you agree with my opinions or my fellow experts. This was a great project, but it's far from over. It's a conversation down in the comments. Speaking of which, make sure to check out the other guys' channels through the links in the description. And personally, gentlemen, on behalf of all the fans here at Name Coyote YT, thank you. This video would not be the same without your segments. Additionally, each of these guys is one of the nicest, easiest people to work with I've ever met. I'm sure Pikmin 5 will be out soon, and we'll be out here having to make a completely new video. But that is all for now, so I thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one.